Good day to you, my fellow Berserk enthusiasts. Before we begin, I just want to thank you all for supporting me with comments, subscriptions, and likes. It means a lot to me, and I'm glad you are enjoying the content I'm producing. In today's video, I would like to discuss what makes Guts such an outstanding character, and whilst many people have made a video on this, I figured I'd throw my hat into the mix, as he is my favourite character across fiction, period. The best way to describe Guts is that he's the perfect example of an imperfect person. Being flawed is to be human, and Miura captured that within Guts to a perfect level that I've not seen before. So sit back and relax as I convey my love for this big hunk of a man to you all. To understand Guts, we must understand his past and the trauma that shaped him. I'll keep it quite brief, however Guts experienced a very traumatic childhood, being stripped almost instantly of his innocence to the harsh exposure of the real world. Born from a hanging corpse and found by a passing mercenary band, Guts was forced into battle from as early as 6 years old as the servant to the psychotic Gambino, who was a selfish brute that tormented Guts with physical and verbal abuse throughout his life. If chucking a child into the horrifying environment of continuous war wasn't bad enough, Gambino also sold Guts out to Donovan, who raped him brutally. By just age 9, Guts had the ability to kill without hesitation, even taking pleasure in his revenge to Donovan, showing how cold he had already become to the world, content with the violent nature of it. However, these things would create trauma deep within Guts, as he developed a hatred of being touched and grew resentful to his own inability to defend himself, which drove him to train harder. Eventually, Guts would be forced to kill a drunk Gambino who tried to kill him, blaming Guts for all the negative things that had happened since his arrival. Whilst Gambino was a horrible person, he was Guts' only father figure, and killing him would traumatize the young boy, seeing him often in his nightmares. Whilst I didn't cover everything from his early childhood, it is clear to see that Guts' suffering was horrendous and his upbringing was devoid of warmth, which is an answer to his frigid personality and at times moral ambiguity, as his environment was so hostile, and Miura really conveyed the fact that Guts' life would be one of eternal suffering from very early on. Moving on to a broader perspective, Guts is symbolic of the human will and what the power of resilience can achieve when seemingly placed against all odds. Guts surviving throughout all his endeavours, fueled purely on his rejection to fail, is what makes him such a respectable character, and as he does not hesitate to go to the extremes in order to be successful. He has left impressions on many readers, including myself, and as cringeworthy as it may sound, in times of struggle I do think of Guts, and his enduring nature to assist me. Guts meeting the Hawks offered him a new outlook on life, and we begin to see real change within his character. Whilst he remains reserved and cold at the beginning of his relationship with them, we see as he connects he finds a sense of community and acceptance within the band that he has never felt in 15 years of life. Guts' character development is thoroughly organic, and this helps portray him as a believable and realistic character. His progressing love with Casca is also a testament to Miura's ability to write romance, as their intimate scenes are so effortlessly intertwined with expelling past trauma in order to heal, and the journey the two embark on since first meeting was such a good payoff to see bloom, and of course makes the tragic events to follow even more painful. The development he goes through in the Golden Age is some of the most significant change Guts experiences, however the Eclipse serves to demolish all of this in one foul swoop. Guts and Griffith have one of the most complex relationships across manga, and the camaraderie they shared was second to none. Guts felt challenged by Griffith to become his equal and respected him massively as a leader and a friend. However, Griffith's actions shattered this forever, and we all know what occurred during the eclipse, so I'll skip the details, but this served to transform Guts into the hateful Black Swordsman, regressing to his solitude in order to cope with the pain. The one thing that doesn't alter within Guts is his endurance, which really shows the strength of his will, as through all the pain, death, betrayal, sacrifice and struggle, he remains a fighter to the core. Ultimately, Guts is such a good character due to how believable a person he is. We see him go through each and every emotion. I don't think there's a single one not exhibited from him, which allows us as an audience to strongly relate to him. And yes, there are obvious attributes towards Guts that makes him amazing, such as his badass fighting style. My favourite fight in Berserk has always been the Rosian fight, and I've never seen a more animalistic prowess shown by Guts in a way that made him appear monstrous on a whole new level. A quote I've always associated with Guts comes from philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche that states whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. Guts battles with his inner demons constantly throughout the story, suppressing the monster that dwells within him so that it does not swallow the remaining humanity he still possesses. However, with the inclusion of the Berserker armor, this monster can come to fruition easier, and Guts must rely on others to help him deny his inner violent nature. As the manga progresses, Guts allows himself to open up once more, and we see that he is attempting to become a better person, caring for those close to him in a way that resembles his Golden Age self, and the new crew are all deeply connected with him. We see how Guts can alter mindsets of those around him. For example, the change in Farnese is heavily underrated, from a closed-minded masochist to an empathetic magic wielder. Guts is a pillar of protection and inspiration to the crew, and Isidro practically idolizes him in wanting to become a warrior as well. Other basic attributes such as his character design and enormous slab of iron serve to promote Guts as an invigorating presence. However, I have always been more drawn towards the more introspective aspects of his character, such as his undying anger, trauma, depression, and refusal to give up. The fact that he is morally grey is also interesting, as we see him make mistakes and suffer consequences for this. Leaving Casca for 2 years is probably his biggest, as in his suffering he chose to run away from his issues, fighting as a form of healing. However, the path proved to be a self-destructive method, whilst also leaving Casca incredibly vulnerable. The theme of destiny is a running motif throughout the manga, and Guts deals with this by symbolizing the struggle between a predetermined path and carving one's own route out for themselves. I touched upon his pursuit of revenge earlier, and this is one way Guts attempted to take control of his own destiny, as his quest revolved around hunting an otherworldly force who operated outside the boundaries of the mortal world. His defiance to be controlled is one of his strongest powers, promoting individualism in a controlling society. However, the futility Guts realizes in revenge sparks a change within him. A Miura quote that has always resonated within me is, "Living for the future is more important than trying to avenge the past. To hold on to anger is pointless, as it only harms us, and we can still create our own futures through an optimistic outlook." Eventually, Guts accepts chasing Griffith will bring him no success, and chooses to prioritize Casca, attempting to escape to a life with some level of peace. However, Berserk's unforgiving and cruel environment presents barriers, and this shows us that not everything in life will become easy. Guts is a lesson that finding our own purpose is a battle, and whilst at times it may seem hopeless, there will always be a faint light at the end of the tunnel. It just depends how much you are willing to do to obtain it. We have followed his life and know all of his pain and happiness thoroughly, and therefore can truly understand him and continue to root for his victory, as he is an inherently good person attempting to become better. Where we find ourselves now is the biggest test for Guts yet, with the lust for power at its peak, and he is tormented by the Beast of Darkness for his weakness to protect Casca. It is a pivotal moment that will truly define where Guts will head now in terms of emotional vulnerability, possibly being driven to the same insanity as Griffith after his torture. Overall, Guts is an exemplary character who is violent and compassionate, broken and unbreakable, powerful and weak, and simply the best creation to grace the fictional landscape. I'll probably make a more in-depth analysis of Guts in the future, but today was just a quick one. I'll be releasing a video on chapter 374 when it drops, so be sure to subscribe because it's going to be a banger. Peace.